Welcome to Kari's Conscious Living. Are you ready to meditate with Kari? Close your eyes and get really comfortable in bed. Make sure that you lay just right so you can listen to the story. Tonight's story is about a friend of mine called Neve. Neve just started 4th grade at school. And it's quite a funny story. The story is called The Horrible Miss Hubbard. Neve knew that Miss Hubbard was going to be her 4th grade teacher, and she spent all summer long building up this pit of dread and fear inside. She'd heard 1 or 2 things from the other kids at school about Miss Hubbard that weren't very nice. Just those 1 or 2 things, those tiny little suggestions from 1 or 2 kids had built up and built up and built up inside of her like a big giant snowball rolling down a hill, growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And she'd worried and stressed all over summer vacation about horrible Miss Hubbard. Even though her parents had talked to her and told her not to worry, that she's probably very nice, Neve didn't listen. She let her imagination get the worst of her, or the best of her, I should say. But it really was the worst of her, because in this case, her imagination brought on so much fear and so much stress and worry. Horrible Miss Hubbard was truly the horriblest person in her mind that she'd ever thought of. She was sat in class with all the other kids around, waiting for Miss Hubbard to come into class. Some of the children were talking to each other. Neve sat, her eyes as wide as saucers, like she was a deer in the headlights waiting for something terrible to happen. She didn't talk to anybody. She was very, very worried about what this year would be like with Miss Horrible Hubbard. She just sat there silently waiting. And then all of a sudden, even over the children's voices in the classroom, she could hear clink, 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 coming down the hallway. She swallowed and got even more anxious. The door opened, and in walked the horrible Miss Hubbard. She had a tray in her hands with a white napkin over it, so you couldn't see on the tray. You couldn't see what was on the tray. She swallowed deeply. Oh my gosh. Maybe they're like tools, extraction tools. Like maybe there's something on that tray that she's going to use to pull your teeth out if you don't listen to her in class. Her mind was going crazy. Then she noticed her hair. It was pulled back very, very tightly, and it looked quite taut, and it was in a bun at the back of her head, not one single hair out of place. She swallowed again. Oh my gosh, she looks just like Miss Trunchbull. One of Neve's favourite movies was Matilda, and she'd been watching it religiously since she was a very small girl. Matilda had a teacher in it. She was a little girl, and he had a teacher in it that was called Miss Trunchbull. She was the principal, and she was horrible. She was really, really scary. She looks just like Miss Trunchbull. She swallowed again. Oh my gosh. And then she looked even closer, and the horrible Miss Hubbard had what looked like a giant black mole on her chin. Ooh, she thought, oh my gosh, I bet it's hairy. That's the scariest mole I've ever seen. And she kind of almost started shaking in her chair. She was so fearful. She's just like Miss Trunchbull. She even has a mole on her face. Neve thought to herself. Miss Hubbard put the tray down. She looked at her again and noticed that there was a giant bundle of keys clipped to the outside of her belt on her skirt, and when she walked, the keys jingled and jangled, and the clip, clip, clip sound that she heard coming down the hallway earlier was her shoes. When she walked around the classroom, she clipped and clopped, and they squeaked just a little bit. It was a very scary, intimidating sound, thought Neve. And the keys, why so many keys? I wonder if she's just like Miss Trunchbull, and she has keys to the chokey. The chokey, if you've never seen Matilda, was a place where Miss Trunchbull would put naughty kids. It was like a closet where she put them, and it had spikes in it, and it was awful. Maybe she has a chokey in here somewhere. Oh my goodness. Neve was working herself up ridiculously. All the other kids seemed fine. Neve was practically shaking in her little shoes. She carried on watching her very intently. And then all of a sudden, she stood in front of the class, the horrible Miss Hubbard, that is, and did a very big smile. "Welcome," she said. "Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that you get to be in my class this year." And she looked at every single one of them with gleaming, sparkling, sweet, happy eyes. She scratched her chin, and the mole fell off. And Neve thought, what? The mole fell off and landed on the horrible Miss Hubbard's table in front of her, and she heard it drop on the paper, and she looked down and went, "Well, there goes my surprise." She pulled back the napkin off the tray. Chocolate chip cookies. Lots of chocolate chip cookies. A chocolate chip cookie for every new child in the classroom. "I couldn't help myself," she said. "I've already had one, and they are so good, and gluten-free and healthy, of course, with all the healthiest, happiest, friendliest ingredients for my new little friends." Neve kind of sat there with her mouth open going, "What?" Right now I feel a little bit silly because she seems kind of nice. It wasn't a mole with giant spiky hairs on it, just like Miss Trunchbull's. It wasn't a mole at all. It was a chocolate chip that was stuck on her chin because she'd been eating the cookies. Neve had a little giggle inside and felt a little bit relieved, but she still wasn't sure. She said to everyone, "Do you like my hair like this? I was thinking I would try something new this year. My little girl says when I put my hair up in a bun like this. I look just like a ballerina. What do you think, guys? Do you like my hair like this? Neve thought all of a sudden that she didn't look or sound like Miss Trunchbull at all. Actually, she did look like a ballerina. And she talked so sweet and gentle. She could probably be a very sweet ballerina, just like the ones on musical boxes where you open the lid and they start to play music and the ballerina spins round very gracefully. That's what she reminded her of now she came to mention it. The keys, the mystery of the giant, gingly, gangly, noisy keys that could possibly be for the chokey weren't for the chokey at all. They were actually for all of these shutters that she had around the classroom. And she walked around the classroom and unlocked each one of them. And as she unlocked them, the shutters rolled up to expose the most beautiful pictures of all the different places in the world that they were going to learn about that year in class. There was India and China, big, bright hills, green waterfalls. There was sunshine, birds, clouds, all the prettiest things you can imagine, all over the walls. That's what the keys were for, not for the chokey, the horrible box with spikes in it. No, they were for all of the prettiest, perfectest pictures you could ever think of. As she walked, she noticed the clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop of her shoes, and she said, "Let's get to know each other." This is Miss Hubbard. "Let's get to know each other, kids. I'm going to start by telling you I've always wanted to be a tap dancer. I have my special tap dance shoes on today. As you probably already noticed, they're very noisy. But I've been practicing over summer break, and I want to share with you what I've learned so far." She had a little recorder, like a little boombox on her desk, and she pressed play. Fun music came on, and she started to tap. She danced a jig and tapped her shoes, and it was so cute. And she looked so happy. Neve started to feel lighter and lighter, and all of her fears and anticipation and dread and worry about her new teacher all started to fade away. She was quite a nice lady, was Horrible Miss Hubbard. In fact, Horrible Miss Hubbard didn't really suit her at all. She was sweet, Miss Hubbard. Sweet, sweet, sweet. She was very sweet. As she sat there in class, Miss Hubbard said, let me hear all about each one of you. Let me learn about each one of you so that we get to know each other better." And it was a really good idea because she learned about all the people in class. She made friends with people in class. There was a boy called Javier, and Javier liked giraffes. His most favorite thing in the world was a giraffe called Giraffe, and apparently he had quite a lot of them. Stuffed toys, that was. He had quite a collection. And then there was Summer and Miller and they were sisters, and they liked to go on adventures. And one time they went to a safari park and they met a crocodile called Connor, and Connor had 24 of the sharpest teeth that anyone would ever see. They learned all about alligators. They particularly liked crocodiles and alligators. Did you know that alligators had 80 teeth? Very sharp teeth. Those girls were very interested, and they told stories about all the different adventures that they went on with their parents, and they were very fun, and they talked a lot, and they talked a lot during the recess, and they talked a lot during the lunch break, and she really liked them. She thought she could probably be good friends with them. There was Ethan. Ethan had a dog called Rosie, and Rosie liked balls. There was Joaquin, and Joaquin had a grey cat, and she was called Heidi. She knew a little bit about everybody in class, and it made her feel so much better about being at school, and all her nerves were going away, and she felt at some point a little bit silly for allowing herself and her imagination to get the better of her, in this case the worst of her, because it didn't do her any good to imagine. It only made her very, very nervous. And it made her think about things and make things up in her mind that weren't true, and she had no reason to do it. And now she realized that it would be a good idea in the future if she didn't do that to herself again. Even if she was nervous about something, she thought, I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to see what it's like and deal with it when I have to deal with it. No point in worrying and making silly things up in my mind like horrible Miss Hubbard that looked just like Miss Trunchbull, that had a chokey and was mean and nasty, because all of it wasn't true. Sweet, sweet Miss Hubbard was actually the sweetest teacher that she'd had so far. Neve went home that night and told her parents all about it, and her parents didn't want to say, I told you so. So they didn't, because what does that ever accomplish? They listened, and they heard her, and they realized that she'd learnt her lesson all by herself, and that was good enough. She went to bed that night after she'd showered and brushed her teeth, and even giggled about the part where she thought that the chocolate chip cookie that was stuck, the chocolate chip that was stuck on her teacher's chin was actually not a mole at all. She thought that was quite funny. She got in bed and she found out that she was quite tired. She probably hadn't had a very good night's sleep all summer, to be honest, with all the silly worrying and crazy imagining that she'd been doing. She finally felt like she could completely relax for the first time in a long time. She laid in bed just like you're doing right now and started to relax. Her feet got heavy and sleepy. Her arms got heavy and sleepy and relaxed. Her hands, her legs, She laid and thought about it and thought that she was going to have a really good year this year at school. She'd made some cool friends. And almost everybody in class was different. All different characters and different personalities. And she really liked that. It's good that people have differences, she thought. It would be quite boring in life if we were all the same. Kinda like cookies, she thought. What if we were all the same flavor and all you ever got was just a chocolate chip cookie? That would be good, she thought to herself, because she does like chocolate chip cookies. But sometimes it's nice to have oatmeal cookies or ginger snaps or chocolate bourbon cookies or ice finger cookies. She does like custard creams. They're always one of her favorites, she thought. She started to drift off, thinking about all of the different flavors of cookies there were out there in the world. Lemon icing cookies. Blueberry. I do like blueberry, she thought. I like chocolate and coffee flavored cookies. Even though I can't drink coffee, coffee's not very good for me. But I do like coffee flavored things. Coffee cake is nice too. And then sometimes donuts flavored with coffee icing on top. They can be really good. Anything strawberry flavored is always nice. Do I like strawberry cookies? No, I don't think I do. I don't think I've ever... Oh, I have had a jam cookie. Jam cookies are good, and sometimes they're flavored like strawberry. She relaxed a little bit more, her whole body becoming floaty and sleepy. Don't forget toffee, she thought. Anything caramel or toffee flavored is always good. Or just plain sugar cookies, they can be very nice. Snickerdoodles, I like snickerdoodles. Anything cinnamon flavor is very, very nice. And she went on and on and on, thinking about all the different flavors, sizes, shapes of cookies. She realized that there were quite a lot. I wonder how many cookies there are in the world. So many. What if every single person that had a house baked cookies and they fed them to the people that don't have houses and don't have food? What if there was a cookie day designed just to feed the people that don't have houses and don't have enough food, and everybody that did had a house baked cookies for those people? I bet, she thought, the world wouldn't be hungry in places at all because they would have cookies. And of course, we would have to make some of them just like Miss Hubbard made them, healthy, with all the best ingredients, gluten-free sometimes, organic. That would be nice, she thought. It's always nice to be organic when we can. and her mind just went all over the place, drifting from here to there, all over, until she finally fell to sleep.